One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days, we're back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Marsh Bishop. We got Mike Ball. What's up, everybody? Glad everybody decided to take a couple minutes and sit down and have another conversation like we do every week. We're going to kind of tap into another part of this story that we've been jumping on for the past couple weeks. Simply because there's so much going on. By the time we finish one show and jump into another one, it's been a bunch of stuff that have happened in between that time. So we're trying to keep up with a little bit of all of it. So, like I said, for the ones that came in today, appreciate you. Hit that like button before we get started. That way we can get this thing cracking in the right spot. But for right now, the world is watching a situation that could change at any time. And that's the actual tensions in the Middle East, because they're rising. Alliances are being tested, and behind the scenes, global powers are making moves that most people aren't even aware of, actually. The question is no longer if things are escalating. The question is how far is this going to go? And tonight, we're going to break down pieces of this conflict the role of the global powers, what their associations is with a lot of this, and the real question that everybody wants to know: if things go further, are we looking at another just quote quote regional conflict, or is this the earliest stages of an actual world war? And more importantly, should the allies stand with the U.S. or should they stay out completely? So that's where we're going to jump on tonight. Now, right now, you have countries around the world that's being forced to make a decision. Do they stand with the United States, or should they stay on the background and risk this from being considered as another big conflict? Because it isn't just about Iran, and it's not just about the U.S. It's about alliances, power, and the kind of decisions that can shift the direction of this whole entire, not only this war, but also the world in itself. And here's the part that nobody's really talking about. There is no safe option. Getting involved would escalate things. Staying out could create weakness. So the real question becomes, what's more dangerous right now, action or hesitation? So we're going to break this down. Now, when I'm sure a lot of us done seen the reports that done came out where we're talking about these countries that the U.S. has reached out to, a lot of NATO countries. Matter of fact, we're going to show this picture right quick, just kind of give you an idea. Now, these are the countries that the U.S. has asked to step in to for assistance, for them to be able to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. And as you see, they either rejected it, no comment,
didn't answer the phone,
or didn't even respond at all. Okay, now you can hit this at a couple different angles. Some could say they don't really care for Trump. You got that. Some could say that they don't agree with what's going on in Iran. You could say that as well. Now, but the last that I heard, that wasn't that the reason why NATO was even formed in the first place? That if you mess with one, then you mess with the other one. All of them, one for all for one. Everybody's in the same boat. So, being the fact that in NATO, the U.S. is the superpower in NATO, the only one that even comes close to them in NATO is Turkey, and you see Turkey ain't even involved in that.
Oh, hell no.
So the question is like, so what's going on? Why are they not answering? Why do they not want to be involved? Like I said, some of these countries is like, well, this isn't our fight. We shouldn't be involved in it. Well, you know what? It's a whole lot of things. It's not our fight, and we're getting involved in it. Just like this isn't our fight, but
That's
we're
correct.
involved in it. Ukraine is not our fight, but we got involved in it.
That's right.
Us protecting Taiwan is not our fight, but we're getting involved in it. And we can keep going, you know, through history. We have always got involved with stuff that had nothing to do with us whatsoever, but we did for the simple fact of the agreements that had been made. Now, I think with this, though, this could be something real bad that could happen, because you could think, okay, let's say that they don't get involved, they don't show up, they don't help them. So at that point, anything that the U.S. decide to do on the back end would be justified. So what I mean by that is, you know how we talked about before in numerous other shows that the U.S. actually gives out money to about 175 countries
Yeah, we
every year.
basically fund the
Right,
world totally.
right. So we basically fund everyone. So that stops.
It
The
should. I mean,
No, 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 no. I'm
especially.
saying no, no, no. I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying what if it does? Like that
Oh,
stops.
got you.
Um, any and all military aid stops. Any and all foreign aid stops. Um, what happens? You know what I mean? It's like this is like a calamity type issue. Like you could just keep adding on, adding on, adding on until this is like one big whole cluster because didn't nobody want to be involved, or they actually show up. And I don't even know even how that would even go, even if they did show up now, being the fact that you didn't even reply.
The problem I see on this is we're funding, a major part of the world, and let's just say that we didn't fund it, we would have gotten the exact same response essentially as what we did on this when we came to these countries individually. I think the difference is I'm not sure of this or not. I'm not really too keen on this, but I don't think Trump actually went to NATO themselves and was like, "Hey, we need resources from NATO." I think he went to individual company or countries and called them and asked for their help. Now, obviously, whether they like him or not, we have past handshakes that have been made, past deals before Trump is involved, or or some that have been made while Trump has been involved. Whatever the case is, whether you like him or not, is kind of irrelevant as an American citizen standpoint. We pay you guys to get involved if there's a problem, and we've got a problem, and none of these countries want to step up. So it's just interesting for sure.
So we're gonna do let's hold the argument for both sides. Okay.
Sure.
So we're gonna go through. I'm gonna go through first with why they should, and then we'll go with why they shouldn't. Fair enough.
Sure.
That way, so that way we're not
right. We're not one side or the
we're
other.
actually
Right.
giving it out. Okay. So the way you think about it is why the actual word deterrence matters here in this situation, because deterrence means making your opponent think twice before acting.
Sure.
So if you had when these multiple countries stand together, it increases the military presence, it increases consequences, and it also shows commitment that each of these countries have for each other. So if Iran sees the U.S. alone with only one other group with them, which is Israel, but then you put it on the other hand, you got the U.S. plus their allies, that shows a multiple coordinated forces, that risk becomes much higher because you got your naval fleets together, which is harder to challenge. You have your coordinated air defenses, which provide stronger protection. And then you have shared intelligence for faster responses. So that argument is pretty simple. To strengthen numbers reduces the chances of escalation, which reduces casualties. That would be what you would think. Now, dealing with the global shipping and the energy part of it, because the strait isn't just a location, it's mostly one of the most important shipping lanes on Earth, because oil flows through there daily. So about 20% of the oil supply actually comes through the strait. A lot of global trade depends on that.
Right, from that whole region too, not just on a region side, of course, but globally. Yeah, 20% of all oil and gas go through it.
Right. So then you have a lot of, now if you disrupt that, which is what's going on right now, you got your gas prices, your shipping prices, your overall inflation, all of that goes up just with what's going on in that little part of the world, that strait. Now you have some countries which the U.S. doesn't doesn't get much from over there, but China does. China gets what, almost 70%. Japan does. You got India. A lot of these countries get their major portions of oil from
there.
this area, right? So if that route becomes unstable, then you don't just feel it in the Middle East. You feel it at every gas pump around the world. Everybody feels that. Okay, so now these alliances are actually built for moments like this.
Yes, that's correct.
Because these alliances is not just paperwork. They're built on trust. They're built on mutual support. They're built on shared risk. So if these countries don't show up now, then that raises the question, like, will they show up later? Or can they even be relied upon at all? Because if these alliances don't matter at moments like this, then what are they really worth? Other than the paper.
Well, obviously right now, not worth much at all. And yet we're giving $1 trillion a year to NATO.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think this is one of the key parts to this. It's because sometimes showing strength early prevents escalation. Why? Because it sends out a message. Don't mess with us. And if you do, this is what's going to happen. A lot of times you can get one of these conflicts resolved real easy when they know that they're not just battling one group.
That's right. It puts a lot of not only political pressure, but actual pressure from force.
Right, right. You know, and it's like a message that shows we're prepared for this, we're unified, and you don't want that smoke. It's basically what we're putting out there. You can stop this larger war or larger conflict from even happening if they seen that this was happening. I mean, now even if they didn't actually come there and do anything, just with Iran knowing that they're coming, I think would have been a big deterrence. Like, yes, okay, maybe we should hold off a little bit.
There would be deviation from there. Yeah.
Right. Now, being the fact that you didn't do that,
right,
and you left it open the way you left it open, then it's like, oh, now we got some dissension in the ranks. Now let's see what we can jump in.
What we can push through now.
Right. Because, you know, Russia's on our side. China's on our side. Mm-hmm. We're going to get into that here a little bit later. But their alliances is formed. Their alliances is sticking together. It's outside. The ones that we've been, you know, known to know that, okay, if anything ever happened, we all going to jump in. Everybody's going to get involved. Is now saying, I don't know.
We don't really know about this.
Right. I don't really want to mess with this, you know. So we're going to jump into what if they stayed out. Okay. So we did it with them being in. Let's talk about what happened if they stayed out. So let's break it down kind of step by step. So war doesn't escalate at once. It escalates through a number of different things. So you got the involvement, the reaction, and then your counter reaction after that. So if more countries entered, you increase the number of targets, number of decisions, and the chances for mistakes. And in a war, more players mean more chances of something going wrong. Now, that's a chance that anybody would take. Okay. Whenever you get into a situation like that, you know that it's going to be communication gaps. It's going to be
complex.
Right. Language barriers, stuff like that. That's
a lot of moving gears. Right.
Right. That's what happens when they talk about sometimes things have been hit and they call it friendly fire and stuff like that. Because
but a lot of that is minuscule in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
I get what you're saying.
Right. But it's just communication problem. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But I think one of the other things is that every country has different interests when it comes to this, because not every country see this conflict the same way. Now, the reason why I say that is because unlike the US, some countries depend on the Middle East for oil. So they prioritize economic stability while they're trying to avoid military conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Others have no direct stake in it at all. So they ask, why should we risk our country for this? Why are we even getting involved in this? Why would we even want to be involved in this? Because some countries getting involved in this isn't loyalty, it's more like a liability. And some of them really don't want to get into it. You have a lot of these countries that's also on an economic downfall as well.
Big time.
And right. And they're not dumping trillions into military like we do. You know what I mean? Even
But
when
we
they were
but,
asked
but
to,
we pay them handsomely though.
right.
So
Even
it's
when we
like,
asked them to, to bump it up from 2 to 5%, some of them agreed, some of them said no, they're not going to do that. But each country has their own little skin in the game, so to speak. You know what I mean?
right.
Now,
Well, a lot of times we're not empathetic of anybody else. We don't think about like even that side of the equation, right? And that right there. Like, oh, how is this actually going to affect us as their standpoint, or why should we get involved? Those are great questions that you brought up there.
now, so you got the military escalation that can cause the oil prices to spike, which they are already doing. Shipping disruptions, and then you have the market instability, which is already going on. So you're not just risking a war, then you got the war over here, but then you're also going to have the economic shock on the back end of this, which we're all going to pay for anyway. All of us is going to pay for it.
Yeah, because we always rebuild for other places, and we're all paying for it.
Right. So then you have the importance of this. I would call it like a strategic patience is what I would call it, because not acting immediately is not what you call. It's not what I would call weakness, because sometimes that's more strategy. Because you have countries that may want to sit back and observe a little bit, gather a little bit more intelligence, waiting to see a more clear outcome as to what the picture is really looking like. Because right now a lot of stuff is being hidden. They're not putting out a lot of information.
Of course, that's the name of their game, man.
Right. A lot of this
Yeah.
stuff is being hidden, so you really don't know what's going on over there. So they could also say, well, okay, well, let's wait a little bit before we jump into this and see exactly what's going on before we jump all the way into this. But they can go back and forth with this. You can go slower, you can go more intense, but if everyone waits, it doesn't make the situation more unstable, and by rushing it doesn't create the conflict from spreading beyond control. This is supposed to be done to actually prevent the war, not to accelerate it. So if hesitation from what they think is like a smart strategy, I see that as being a dangerous weakness, because you could been had this taken care of if you would have showed up there. I mean, even if, like I said, even if you wouldn't have done nothing, I think if all of you would have showed up the way they were talking about at first, they were saying, well, UK sending this one, and Greece is sending these, and Italy sending these. If they all would have showed up there, I think Iran would have kind of backpedaled a little bit as to what they're talking about doing.
Why do you think that we compensated with bombing them with 5,000-pound bombs this morning? Right there at the Strait of Hormuz, right there, like right on the corner, And yeah, I mean, multiple, by the way, not just one 5,000-pound bomb. Yeah, multiple. And so that's our compensation is, well, these people aren't going to come in and be of aid to us in a unifying aspect of the globe, well, we're going to compensate with munitions.
But does that really help anything, though?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because eventually you're going to get to the point, if let's just say, if the actual strait is actually shut off,
Sure.
shut off the strait, okay, what happens? I mean, see, like now, right now, it's shut off to certain groups, not to everybody. So they're still letting China come through with their tankers. They're still letting India come through with their tankers. There's only certain groups that they're not allowing.
Mm-hmm. That's right. If you look at the actual ship movements, there is some movement through the strait, but the majority of them through that like tall passage on each side of the passage there, they're anchored up. You see them in the red, which means they're not moving. Now, if they're green, they're moving, but that's from, as you just said, certain countries can still pass. You know, there's the exceptions, and they, around make sure of that. But anybody else, you guys are not passing. Because you got to think of, like, people think, like, well, how do they have that kind of control? Well, look at where the Strait of Hormuz is. I mean, it's against Iran. So they can have
right there.
They can have ballistic missile launchers just set up straight, all looking down, up and down that whole strait and blow up anything. I mean, they really can do that. They're not a threat to here in the United States in that aspect, but over there, they control that whole fucking strait right there from just a power standpoint. It comes down to force, and they have that force. They've got the number one missile program in the entire world, and they make drones not only for themselves, but they sell them to Russia to help Putin up there in his war against Ukraine. So there's a lot more moving parts to this than what people really think it is, right? Just perception.
Right. Well, you had that, and then also what we was talking about earlier, one of those missiles almost hit a nuclear facility in Iran
Right.
that was
You were telling me about that.
Yeah, we'll pop that up. That was actually being ran by the Russians.
Right.
So you have you got 480 Russian nationals that's actually running this nuclear plant, and they came out Tuesday and said that it was posing a real risk of a major nuclear disaster because some of these missiles were danger close.
So question, where is the exact plant at? Is it in Iran?
Yes, it's actually in Iran.
Wow.
It's in southwestern Iran on the Persian Gulf.
Okay. Wow.
So what it says here is that this plant was located in southwestern Iran on the Persian Gulf, was built from assistance from Russia, and Moscow's nuclear corporation continues to support this facility with 480 Russian nationals at that site. While there have been no reports of substantial damage, nuclear facilities are a key concern during wartime because the risk of radioactive material could be released. And in that case, if that's released there, it get released right into the Persian Gulf.
Damn. Yeah, that's no bueno right there.
Yeah.
Damn. So they're like, hey, man, keep your shit firing that way. You know what I mean? Don't be blowing our shit up over here.
Right.
Damn, that's crazy.
Now, one of the other things that they were talking about dealing with these other countries not jumping in is because some of these allies feel that some of the past wars that they were involved in, that they were rushed or they miscalculated what was going on. And they don't want to be pulled into another escalation where it reached out to where they doing 2, 3, 4, 5 years, still fighting, which is basically what they're doing in Ukraine anyway. They just feeding money and weapons as opposed to actually sending troops. But you're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then you kind of had that back and forth thing the other day where you had Um, I think it was Ukraine that said that they wanted to help with the drones. You know, they've been dealing with a lot of
Really?
drones, right? Because you know Russia was getting their drones from Iran, and Ukraine wanted to jump in and
That's super
help with the
interesting.
drones.
I'd be like, focus on your own fucking war, asshole.
But
You know what I mean?
But then
You know
here's
what
the
I mean?
thing: it was funny because they volunteered to do it, and then Trump turned around and said, "We don't need you to do it.
Right, right.
We don't need you."
Focus on your own shit. You know, focus on your own backyard. Prove how amazing those drones are in your own war.
Yeah, I think with that one though, it's like, okay, you asked for help. I said I would help,
Right.
but
That's
then you
true.
say you
That's
don't
true.
want my help. You know what I mean? So what do you want? Make up your mind.
That's
Do you
true.
want help or you don't want help? Now you bitch if I didn't answer your phone. Now you
I
bitch
can't
and
send
say,
ships over there, but I got drones for you.
right. I can show you how to get these drones down. No, we've been doing it for the past 4 years. So obviously we done figured out how to get them knocked down.
That's
So
hilarious.
let me send some over to help you with that. No, we don't need your help. Okay, well, go ahead and just let them hit you then. That's kind of what they just.
That's
kind of
right.
what just happened. Now you know, I think that one of the big things that that really turned here is because of how they're actually putting it out. You know, there's losses being taken on both sides.
Of course.
Tehran getting hit, Tel Aviv's getting hit,
Lebanon's
getting hit.
Yep.
You know,
UAE's getting hit.
yeah,
Qatar's getting hit.
We're taking casualties on our end.
Of course.
There's things that's happening there, but it's getting to the point now that Iran doesn't have any plans on actually just being like, okay, we're done now, because they're actually putting out what they want.
No, they will go all the way until the death of them. Essentially, they have
Yeah.
nothing to lose at this point. They're willing to go all the way. You know,
Yeah,
you
so
set
they've
it off.
actually-
You set it off. Now we're ready all out. Now you know that's the ideology until it's completed. Essentially,
Yeah, so they've actually put out demands, a list of demands
yeah, that's
that
crazy.
they wanted.
This
I'm gonna
list
read
is
you
not.
the first three, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the video for y'all to hear the rest of it, and then we'll
This
talk
list
about.
is crazy, by the way, super crazy. But
So the first one is they want a withdrawal of all American forces out of Iraq, Kuwait, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Syria, and Saudi Arabia.
so
Within
all the
30
U.S.
days.
bases that are there.
Yeah, they
Right.
want everybody gone within 30 days. Second thing is that they want the U.S. to lift every sanction that they've imposed on Iran since 1979, which goes for banking, oil limitations, and tech. They give them 60 days to do that. And the third is they wanted the U.S. to pay reparations to Iran
Mhm.
for lost revenue that they have taken within the past 46 years.
I wonder how much money out of the 46 years that they claim. I mean, after all the sanctions, all the different things added up in the years. I mean, we're talking probably
They
trillions.
estimated it. They estimated it at 800 billion. But they
Right.
said they'll take 500 billion and stretch it out for 10 years.
Wow.
You know, so they give them that on a payment plan, which that one right there, they would probably do. I mean, think about it. We pay the Taliban.
Hey, listen, any place that we blow up, we usually come back and go, okay, we'll rebuild your shit. That's usually what happens. Yeah, 100%.
Let me play this video because
Yeah.
it's going to talk about this, but it's also going to tell what happens if
Oh,
they don't do it.
real quick, Papa Penguin says something very interesting here, and I just wanted to point this out because he does come with a wealth of knowledge. We're attempting regime change from the air. I don't think that has ever happened in human history. Yeah, man, it's definitely interesting to watch for damn sure. But it's proven so far to be somewhat effective. I mean, look at the leadership that's happened. They have dropped, and the last few alive at this point. I actually put that list up on my posts on YouTube of a list of dead and alive. It's kind of crazy. Real quick, allegedly coming up with the 17 months re-upping her membership. Thank you so much for that, by the way. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to do a quote-unquote regime change from the air. You're going to have to put some boots there.
Right.
You're going to have to put some boots there in order to do that. So they going to, I mean, but that may mean you may have to wipe out everybody in order to get boots there, though. That's
what they're basically doing.
You're going to have to wipe out everybody. Like I said, there's 90 million of them, so it's going to take you a while. It's going to take you a long time for that. I really don't see that happening unless you go straight up nuke on something, but which I doubt that too. But
yeah, I doubt it.
Let me play this right quick and just this once it gets past the first three, listen closely to what he's saying here.
We have an official response from the new supreme leader of Iran with three specific We have an official response from the new supreme leader of Iran with three specific demands at 30-day increments. Demand number one is a complete and total withdrawal of American forces from Iraq, Kuwait, Syria, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia within 30 days. How likely is that? Demand number two, the U.S. must lift every sanction imposed on Iran since 1979, including all banking restrictions, oil export limitations, and all technological transfer information and products transfer bans within 60 days. The third demand is to pay reparations to Iran for economic warfare that cost Iran an estimated, in their estimation, $800 billion in lost revenue in the last 40 years. Now, what they expect is to be paid back $500 billion within 10 years. If these three actions are not met, Iran will take very, very specific retaliatory actions. The number one is they will completely close the Strait of Hormuz within that 30-day and on that 30-day deadline. Number two, they will activate defenses and military partnerships with Russia and China, including foreign military bases on Iranian soil. The third thing they promise to do is to exercise its right under international law to develop and deploy full-spectrum nuclear deterrent capabilities. The key word is deploy. When they use the word like deploy in an official statement, it leads one to believe they already have some form of nuclear capability. Now, this is not from the production of their own nuclear capabilities, because as we know, Donald Trump completely erased and demolished them. No, this is from what has come from either Russia or China, who has said 100% they are backing them. As put in official statements less than 90 minutes after these demands from the new supreme leader, China media and Russia media both released statements saying they recognized Iran's sovereignty as a country and they are giving full military, unlimited support to Iran to defend itself if necessary. Now, that's pretty damn scary. There was a leak from the Pentagon, and this is very important. It's dated on March 9th. It said that the attack so far has got the infrastructure that the attack was supposed to get. That portion of the excursion was complete. The military part that failed to meet their objectives of the orange turd is that Iran still has full capability to strike because their underground supplies and manufacturing is still intact and 100% at occupancy, including the naval, the nuclear developments. Here's the very scary part. Achieving the total military victory as Trumpel thin-skin dictates would take 200,000 United States troops. Let me repeat that. 200,000 United States troops. And he's already started deploying 5,000 from one, 2,000 from the other. Well, Iran just offered another attack in form of a one-sentence statement. They offered one condition to completely open the strait, and that is that every drop of oil purchased that travels through the strait is purchased with the Chinese yuan, which is a direct attack on the petrodollar. That is economic warfare from China. That's what Trump got us into. Congratulations, MAGA.
So real quick on that, we were in an economic warfare. I mean, we've been in economic warfare for a long time. Economic warfare brings us into what? Real warfare, and that's where we're at to this day. But not just on an economic level. Right now, we're doing something on an allegiance level, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. Obviously, we're like everyone knows my stance from my audience. Like, we shouldn't be there at all, in that aspect. Like, we shouldn't be doing any of this shit. Midnight or whatever that operation was called when we dropped 14 of the 30,000-pound bombs or whatever. I kind of was okay with that to an extent because it was in and out, but where we are spending tons of resources, and look at the amount of military presence that we've got over there right now. Imagine if some shit happened and sparked off on the other side of the world right now. Well, most of our shit, not most of it, but I would say a large majority, is like fucking over there, So a lot of our troops are there. A lot of our actual equipment is there. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I think the only ones that's really getting a deal out of this is Russia. Which
yes, they're making money hand over fist right now. I mean, this is their stability. They're like, fuck, this is awesome. We get them focused over there. Now everyone is focused on this war and not the war against Ukraine. So it takes pressure off of him from there. And then it takes pressure off because he's getting money. Anytime that oil goes up, that is funding his whole team. His whole war is being funded by this oil that he is selling.
Right. Yeah, I'm not cool with that part of it at all, especially when I first heard about that, because you know for a fact that Russia and China has both been helping Iran from the beginning. They've been giving them intelligence. They've been telling them where
yes,
particular bases and radar
that's
systems
what they're willing to
located
do right there.
and all of that. Yes, they've been doing all of that. So why would we be on the phone with them trying to lift sanctions so that they can sell oil on their end and they making, money like gangbusters over there while we over here fighting this war, and when I looked it up, and the answer that I got from that, it seems like total bullshit to me. And it says that the U.S. allowed temporary exemptions on Russia oil import to stabilize the global energy prices, because the conflict in Iran threatens the oil supply, and the Strait of Hormuz, of course, is 20% of the oil flow. So the U.S. made a practical move that would allow Russia to be able to use their oil to basically kind of stimulate the,
Yes,
try to keep
I know
it
what you
down
mean.
while they
Yes.
dealing with this over here, which I still think is bullshit. You know what I mean? I still think it's bullshit because you got them sitting over here. It's like they burning both ends of the candle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So they helping them continue this, and then they using you to be able to sell their oil because they know that
100%.
this is going to cause a problem.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So
It's not a long lasting ideology for damn sure.
Right.
Now, real quick, I just want to give a special shout out. We got allegedly in the chat that sent over $20 on the Cash App saying, "Happy Hump Day. Let's go, man." I very much appreciate that. Thank you for the $20, man. That's awesome.
So you have Russia and Iran. Okay, now they have a long-term strategic partnership that they've had for several years. They got military and intelligence cooperation. They've shared opposition to U.S. influence around the world. They've been like that for
Yeah, that's nothing
years
new.
and years. For years and years.
But in this particular case, that's really probably as far as Putin and his whole ideology is willing to do. Like, I'm willing to go ahead and give you intel. I'll give you all these coordinates, but us getting involved, nah, you guys got this. You know?
Well, they have a 20-year cooperation agreement, and that's for military intelligence and economic coordination. So Russia helping Iran isn't new. It's just part of a bigger relationship that they've already set up. But where the things get serious at is because you have U.S. officials that say Russia has provided that information that could help Iran target these U.S. assets. That was like shipping locations, aircraft movement, surveillance data, weapon system placements. That's not indirect support. That's war involvement.
Of course.
So they're sticking their nose in that, giving up that information, and then they still sitting back on this end. You know what I mean? I still I would have rather let the gas price go up than to lessen them sanctions and just let them just capitalize on that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that could have been a deal where like, okay, I'll lift these sanctions, but you completely stay out of this. Don't do nothing. You know what I mean?
Do you think that people would actually stand by that though? Like as a nation or whatever, if you like were to take away sanctions, you don't think that they would abide by it? Like
in this day and age, I say, yeah, you know what I mean? Because let's just keep it real. Money talks, bullshit runs marathons.
that's true. Yeah, money
You know what I
does
mean?
absolutely talk, and it'll persuade anything at any point. I guess you got a point on that.
And if he thinks that he can make money off of this deal, and
They'll bite their tongue just to make that
nobody's
money,
getting hurt
you
on
know?
his end, and he's gonna be able to make money hand over fist. Sure, he'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, I ain't gonna have nobody come over there. I ain't gonna have him do nothing else. You know what I mean? Because he's gonna sit here and make this money. But the real game to this is that Russia didn't just jump fully into it, but they're not staying neutral either. You know what I mean? Which is the problem, because just helping Iran just a little bit weakens U.S. positioning, and it increases their pressure as to what's going on in that area, because they're able to get the intelligence that they need to be able to use these precision guided missiles that they have to actually make a more mass broader effect than what they would have been doing just in the blind. But let me ask you this. Do you think that this is just going to be just a temporary thing where he's just like, okay, I'm gonna lift these sanctions for just a little bit, and then we're gonna put them back? Or was that a deal where, okay, I'm just gonna lift them completely, and as long as you agree to stay out of this or whatever, which technically they couldn't, because they'd be going against the agreement that they already signed, so they can't
Right.
technically say, okay, we're gonna stay out of it.
It depends on the outcome. I think that, of course, if everything works out great, then sure, sanctions could be lifted forever, endless, whatever. I do think that, though, this whole war as a whole is this more of a short term versus long term, whatever. I think this whole thing is going to be more of a long term, not us just being there. I'm not talking about that on a financial aspect where it's setting us back, and how we're going to actually feel this on a long term aspect. I would love to say, I mean, I was saying this about, I don't know, 8 days ago, 10 days ago. I'm like, let's just go ahead and pull out now. We fucked them up. You know what I mean? Let's get the fuck out and just pull it there, and that's it. And I already thought we shouldn't be there in the first place, but if we're there and we did what we did, all right, we basically sunk their entire Navy. We took out a whole bunch of military assets. We took out a whole bunch of shit. Let's get the fuck out, But you know how this goes, right? This is beyond what just Mike Ball thinks.
Well, they're not going to do that, because they feel like if they got them in one position, then let's see if we can't get it in just a little bit more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, based on a lot of the stuff that's going on over there, because it's basically a media blackout over there.
Of course, they
don't
have internet right now. I mean,
right? They're not showing a lot of stuff that's going on over there. You know what I mean? And we know for a fact that is not a one-sided deal. We know that it's chaos over there. You know what I mean? And it's every day that is going on is going to get a little bit worse. I mean, and we know this. Yes, I agree with you. They should have been out of there. They never should have went as long as they have. You know what I mean? Especially when you have, Netanyahu was the one who started this, and then what did he do? He jumped on a plane and disappeared. Now they say they don't know whether he dead or is he over in Germany or what, because they showing the little AI videos. You know what I mean? All this different shit. You don't know whether the dude's alive or dead. Don't know.
That's true. Now he spoke in the last couple of days talking about Benjamin Netanyahu.
From where though?
Yeah, exactly. So the last one that he did this morning was from his office, but anything is, possible at this point.
His office on the plane, because he damn sure ain't in Israel. He done got his ass up out of there. He was gone as soon as them bombs started dropping. He was gone.
It showed him in his office in Tel Aviv, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that.
Oh shit!
Yeah, his ass ain't there. Yeah, they was talking about the first day. As soon as they said that they were going to drop, he was on the plane and gone. Remember, the other countries jumped up and said, "Bruh, even though you on the plane, don't come here though, because you ain't welcome here." And then he went to Germany, because Germany was the only country over there that said, "Okay, come on over here."
Yeah, we'll accept you and not arrest you. We'll accept you and not arrest you.
Right. Everybody else told him, keep it pushing. You ain't welcome over here. Keep it going. So
that's too
you know
funny.
damn well he ain't over there. And he ain't in Israel doing nothing. You know he ain't. But another thing with those sanctions, even with those sanctions, now you got to think, Iran had sanctions since 79. Russia done had sanctions for years and years, like every other year they would get sanctions.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But what have they actually been able to do? So they started alternative banking systems. They started different trade routes. They did military exchanges. Now, the sanctions that they were doing may have slowed them down a little bit, but it didn't completely stop what they were doing. I mean, when they did this with Ukraine, remember they dropped all those sanctions on them and said, "Oh yeah, Russia's going to be bankrupt in a matter of weeks." Bullshit. They ain't happened. They just turned around and just went another route with it, and it made more money than they did from the start. So, like, even with the sanctions
Stop the cap.
you even trying to put on them, that's only temporary. You know what I mean? That's a temporary little drop in the bucket that you're
that's
gonna
right.
do.
Like, listen, when you cut off this supply to me, what do you think? I'm just gonna sit there and wallow? You think that I'm just gonna sit there and in dead water? Like, no, of course not. Like, I'm gonna pivot and start making money over here. They recover. I mean, it's a short-term hurt, but then they figure out, okay, we're gonna do this now.
Mm-hmm.
So making a country go bankrupt is laughable.
Yeah, they're not gonna. Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Such as Russia's economy. I mean, not just their economy, but Putin's money in particular.
Right. You know, even with this, and you sit back and you think about it, like, okay, these other countries, they've refused to show up when asked, which should also give you a little a precursor as to what if something really bad was to happen, would these people actually show up, which kind of gives you your answer on this one, whether you agree or disagree. You know, I don't know about you, Mike, but I know, like, with my close friends, if we're out and let's say something happens, and somebody gets into some shit, whatever,
of course,
we're gonna fix whatever it is that happened out there. We're gonna deal with that. But and then when we get behind closed doors,
I'm gonna deal with you.
We're gonna deal with you.
Yep, that's right. I'm gonna cover for you here. I'm gonna make sure that you're not gonna die here. I'm gonna make sure that I got you, and we're showing force here in that moment, right? But then as soon as we get back, I might scold the fuck out of you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, don't you ever put me in that kind of this whole organization in this kind of position.
Right.
You know.
So why is that? So why is that not being done here? You got global powers.
Sure.
It could be like, okay, we're gonna do this, but after this is over, me and you.
Yeah, we're gonna have a discussion.
Yeah, me and you gonna have this conversation. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They just like, oh no, we just ain't going.
You know what's weird about it is guys that have principles, ethics, and codes that obviously me and you kind of run off of just on our background of who we are. Unfortunately, nobody lives by that anymore. And people that do live by that never get into power like that. It's just very odd, you know? Or they become corrupt. Either way, like maybe they were leading up to that position and then power ultimately corrupts, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's very scary to watch though. Yes.
I mean, like, could the U.S. actually handle this by themselves? Sure they could. Military?
Of course.
Military wise.
Yeah, we got the force to dominate them 100 times over.
Yes, they could do it, but what's at risk there?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You got higher costs, you got the risk, you got long-term consequences. You got all of that. If you take upon yourself to do, then you take all the heat. You know.
Now
what I mean?
You've got it affecting citizens here in the United States, and that's Trump's ultimate disadvantage is that oil is going up. And guess what? Everyone's fucking talking about it because it affects you directly. You know, and so. That's his worst nightmare. And that's why when he comes out, he's like, listen, as soon as this shit is over, it's going right back down, if not below that shit. Bro, I got something to say.
Stop the cap.
Exactly. So we sitting on right at one time.
Yep.
So we're gonna shut it down for the evening. But I think we need to kind of pay attention to what's going on there and pay attention to the oil prices, pay attention to what they're talking about, naval movements, and whether these countries officially join in or do they continue to stay out, because that's where that's what's going to show you what's really going on. If they continue to stay out, in one sense, you would think that kind of pressures the U.S. to be like, okay, let's go ahead and bail since they ain't going to help us. We might as well just go ahead and just drop out of this. Or if they jump into it, that tells you that this is going to go a little bit longer than what they're already saying. So just keep your eyes peeled when you're dealing with this. Like I said, we only do a show once a week. So it's going to be a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to pop in between now and next week.
A lot of changes, a lot of adage and changes. Yep.
Right. And being that there is so much, then we're going to continue to talk about it because this affects everyone. You know what I mean? Whether it's affecting you in your pocket with oil, gas, food, you got loved ones that's stationed overseas, loved ones that's in the military. You know what I mean? We have one of the guys that was in the refueling plane that went down in Iraq. My cousin had posted something. Come to find out, they were actually friends. I didn't know the gentleman, but but he was friends with some of my family members out of Dayton, Ohio.
With one of the people that went down.
Yeah, because Wright Pat Air Force Base is right there in Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
So they knew him. You know what I mean? So like I said, a lot of these hits home. Like I said, there was a captain had passed away, and he was from here, where I live now. So you have our fellow brothers and sisters in arms that's out there supporting and defending, you know, and some of them you know, and a whole lot of them you don't.
That's right.
Say a prayer for all of them that they can fulfill the mission and make it home safely. So once again, thank you all for coming out, for watching. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Hit that like button. Let's get this show out there in the proper algorithm. Like I said, we're not the ones that's sitting on here all day talking about you need to send us $5 and send us $10 and send us $15 and just hit the like button. Get it out there because it hit the right. Because the stuff that we're talking about ain't about money. It's about awareness. It's about
education and
really
just being keen to the situation. Right.
Exactly. So like I said, I'll see you all in 7 days. Much love and respect to you all. Go ahead, Mike.
The one thing that I just wanted to end off with on this whole thing is that, listen, you may not support this war that we're in right now, but that doesn't mean you can't support our troops. Listen, they're just listening to their upper command. That's what they do, follow orders. Listen, man, just because you don't agree with a war necessarily doesn't mean you don't want America to still win and that you still don't want our people to do best and flourish. So that's all I wanted to say on that whole thing. Listen, just like AB said, make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side. We're not going to be rating anybody this evening, so you guys are going to all have to figure out where you're going to go from here. But AB, great discussion again, as always. And listen, we'll be back here in 7 days. Much love, honor, respect to everybody, and God bless everyone. We'll see you guys very soon.
There